Talo for love, everyone. Welcome back to episode 2 of In the Room podcast. My name is Faustina, and I am the host for today's podcast episode. For today, we've got a special guest. I guess someone that you guys really get to see across our social media, and who's achieved quite a bit in the short amount of time that he's been in his work. So I've got a special guest here, and it's Mike. So if you just want to give a little bit of a background on, just anything about you that would give insight on our followers.
Cool. Well, thank you. Mahalo e soifua, talo falava. My name is, my actual name is Michael, but people call me Mike. Really excited to be here tonight to just share a little bit about the work that I do, and I guess sort of what's influenced me, etc. But just really excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
Cool, thank you. Pretty much what we'll do is we'll just go through a little bit of Michael's background of work, and then we'll pretty much go from there. So did you just want to sort of give us a little bit of background of what you do for work, just to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So basically, it all started in the school space. So while I was at high school, shout out to Liston College, I was working with, or actually volunteering at the time with an organisation called Logos, which is a Marist youth organisation. And basically they go out to all sort of schools and they sort of deliver programs around leadership and how to strengthen your faith as a young person living in society. And so I guess that's kind of where I sort of found my first kind of passion for working with young people.
Yeah.
I guess from there I then went and did a bit of study. So I had completed my studies at University of Auckland under the Faculty of Education, and came out with a degree after 3 years of study, which then led me to my first job out of university, which was over at Odyssey. So for those who don't know, Odyssey is a mental health and addictions organisation, and so my first job was actually out in the youth residential home, so where young people come in for drug and alcohol support, and looking to recover or looking to reduce their alcohol and drug use. So that's kind of how I sort of got into the work. And then from the youth res, I moved into the secondary school space, so going into schools all across counties, Manukau, and delivering alcohol and drug prevention programs. So I did that for a bit, and then now where I currently am, I'm working for an organisation called KED, Community Action Youth and Drugs, and it's a Te Whatu Ora contract, so it sits with the Ministry of Health, but we sit within Auckland Council. So basically sort of my role in that space is how we can support communities to reduce the harms that our young people face from alcohol and drugs. We know that, in today's society, alcohol and drugs are a huge part of, of the world. And so it's really about how we can enable, we can support and empower young people to, build their own critical thinking when it comes to alcohol and drugs and wider.
Cool, thanks for that. What we'll do, we'll just retrack a bit from sort of the early stages of where the passion stemmed from. So sort of through the end years of your high school life, were you sort of confident in the pathway that you wanted to go down, or were there any other industry or line of work that you were pretty interested in as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, I actually was really confused as to what I wanted to do when I left high school. I knew it was something in the health sector. I think that was always a given, was that I wanted to do something where it was helping other people, but not necessarily knowing exactly what that was. And so, I guess when I was finishing high school, I was looking to, do health science.
Yeah.
And maybe going through the route of becoming a doctor or a general practitioner. So that's kind of, I guess, the beginnings was kind of that was sort of the direction that I wanted to take. But I guess life happens, and like I said before, I was over at Logos, where a lot of it was around youth work, and it was around engaging in that sort of faith-based space. And I think that's kind of what influenced me to get really into that youth work direction.
Cool. So for sort of anyone out there, while we're sort of in the beginning stage that might be watching who could be interested in this sort of line of work that you're in, what would sort of be the first steps for them to take sort of to get into that study pathway into sort of what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's lots of courses out there, around youth work or community development. I've seen quite a few places like Unitec, Te Wānanga, Aotearoa, AUT, that all offer, these sorts of courses and programs, diplomas, certificates. So, I think it is a profession that is still yet to be recognised in terms of youth work.
Yeah.
But, I feel like for a lot of people, a lot of them do it quite naturally already. A lot of our people are already serving in the churches, they're serving in the youth groups and doing other stuff, serving people. So, I guess having to put some kind of formal kind of qualification or some kind of study does go a long way. I think it's really important that, that you do the work, but you also, go in and do a bit of study. Because it's important that we, have to understand all the sort of, I guess, legislation or the policies that, protect us and protect the young people when we're working together. So, I guess that's my sort of advice is, there's lots of different sorts of courses and programs available out there. I guess you just have to do a bit of research. If you're still in high school, talk to your careers advisor. If you're not in high school but you're sort of just looking around, just kind of jump on Google and do a bit of a search. There should be something out there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, for you, like coming out of high school, did you have sort of anyone that you sort of were looking up to at that time who helped you make that decision, or sort of gave you those guidelines as to sort of how you were going to get into that?
I think, like I said, I was doing a bit of voluntary at Logos, and also at Vinnie's, and I think just that whole concept of service was really important. So I can think of a few people that I think influenced me to kind of get to where I am now. One of my mates who's just passed, Father Dennis O'Hagan, he was a huge person who influenced me in terms of the direction that I wanted to take when I left high school. And then just others sort of here and there. Had some real strong friends over at the university who up to today we still keep in touch and we still hang out and we have conversations around the work that we do because we're all in different spaces serving young people. I think there's different kind of groups in that influenced me.
I'll probably just ask you a quick question, but what are your sort of viewpoints on Pacific achievement or Pacific excellence, just in general?
Pacific achievement to me is being able to recognize that holistic well-being, I think, and being able to, look after yourself in all those different elements that we talk about, mentally, physically, spiritually, family. Once, all of those different, avenues are healthy, I think that's what can really create a positive, healthy, Pacific success. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. And sort of what you've mentioned about like holistic well-being being important, is there anything that you do sort of, because you're always so busy covering like, leadership within our own family and then out in your working industry, what sort of do you do to sort of like put your mental health and physical health in order? What do you find fun, hobbies, sort of thing?
Well, I'm a bit of a nature kind of guy, so I love going out. I think we're very privileged to live out here in the mighty West, because we're just at the back door of the Waitakere Ranges, and so just being out there, out in Piha or Muriwai Beach, soaking up the sun and getting a bit of wind in the hair in there, I think is really healing. I think in the past I've sort of dabbled into different sorts of sports. So huge fan of like kickboxing, did a bit of squash as well. So I guess for me, trying new things, I think, is also another way that I like to improve my well-being, is trying new things and giving things a go, learning new skills, and just trying to just build my skills across different things. So I feel like those are sort of ways that I like to improve my well-being.
Cool. So sort of just retracking back to where you are now currently in your current role, can you just sort of give us a little bit of a background of what you currently do at the moment? Yep.
So basically my role is really around how we can support, enable, empower communities to look at transforming those environments and those systems that perpetuate alcohol and drug harm for our young people. So, for example, that could be looking at supporting a high school with their policies, developing healthy and sustainable policies so that young people, are feeling safe in the school space. It could be supporting a local boxing academy and looking at how they design programs for young people, ensuring that they are safe and welcoming of all, inclusive. It could be presenting at Parliament, which I did last year. I went down to Wellington to present at the Beehive about some of the work that I was doing to support young people. But a lot of my work is really around advocacy. So looking to see how we can advocate for those who aren't able to have a voice at the table. And often young people are forgotten about when it comes to decisions. And so looking to see how we can bridge that gap and ensure that young people have a voice at the table.
Yeah. And when you sort of talk about, say, like, for instance, the high schools implementing policy, like, for them to feel safe, what do you mean by that? Is that just with sort of alcohol bans around the school communities, or like what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it can be quite broad. I mean, I think specifically to alcohol and drugs, we know that kicking a young person out of school will have more long-term impacts on their lives. And so trying to keep young people engaged in high school is like a protective factor.
Yep.
So like the policies that we talk about is how we can use like a strengths-based approach when it comes to alcohol and drug harm, because often with schools there's that real punitive approach, if they see a young person, I don't know, smoking weed or drinking, it'll be suspension or expulsion. But we know that that will lead to longer term harms for the young person. So it's looking at how we can provide more protection and more safety around that young person, because we don't know what that young person is going through. They might be going through some tough stuff at home, and it could just be a matter, or it could just be really an
Support.
Opportunity to have a conversation. Like a teacher could just say to a student, "Are you okay?" And maybe that can just open up a conversation where pastoral support can be brought in, like the counsellor or the social worker, which then can make the situation more positive. So my work is really around how we can build some of those best guidelines when it comes to working with young people, like in the school context.
Cool. You also mentioned that you've sort of had opportunities to travel outside of Auckland for work. Have there been any sort of opportunities arise within your work where you've, done some stuff that have sort of not ticked boxes, but you've sort of been grateful for opportunities to expand within your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just recently, I was featured in a video that, I guess, was casted by Auckland Council itself. I never thought that I would, in my career, be featured on a video and be representing Auckland Council and talking about issues that I'm very passionate about. So I was really, really fortunate to have that opportunity to talk about the work that we do and implementing Auckland's local alcohol policy. Was something that, I think it took many years, I think 9 or so years to get this policy put in place. But really, like for me, I think we're really in it for the long run. Like we're in it to see those long-term changes for future generations, and making sure that, those of us now will also, be benefiting those in the future. So, I guess that was one opportunity that came out that I could probably tick off my bucket list. Has been featured on that. Like I mentioned before, doing a bit of travel, especially to Wellington, to present to Parliament. And also just being selected for several leadership programs. I've been very fortunate to be on a few leadership programs.
Cool. And sort of when you get picked for those leadership programs and you get to go away, sort of what does the what's entailed in those leadership programs? What do you sort of get out of it, or what opportunities open up for you within those? Is that like sort of something you can just add onto your resume, or?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of those leadership programs really teach you to look within, and I know that sounds quite cliche, but a lot of it is really around self-reflection. Like to be the best leader that you can be is to really look within and identify your strengths, your weaknesses, what you can improve on. And I think a leader is someone who is able to identify those and is able to work with others alongside them to better themselves every day. So, I mean, I'm very fortunate to have a very supportive team around me who, we all look out for each other. We all give each other constructive feedback, like when we need to improve on something. And I also feel safe to ask, like my manager, for some support if I need support, etc. So I think surrounding yourselves with really positive, helpful colleagues is really important. So yeah, I think from those leadership programs, I've been able to do a lot of self-reflection, and I think for me, really trying to tune into what does it mean to be a Pacific leader. Um, what does it mean to be a Pacific leader within mainstream? Obviously, working at Auckland Council, I am identified as, what is it called? I guess the minority. So really just trying to understand, I guess, the impact that I can have as Pacific working within mainstream, and how I can bring my skills and my talents into that space.
Yeah. Cool. And is there anyone in the space currently that you sort of look up to, or you sort of rate highly in leadership within our Pacific community?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I really want to acknowledge the late Whaanana Efeso Collins, who passed away suddenly. And fun fact, actually, Efeso emceed my 21st some years ago.
That.
And that was all before, he became counsellor and all that. But yeah, when I think of people who have inspired me in my work, I think of Whaanana Efeso, Councillor Josephine Bartley, Alf Filipina, and then I also have a mentor. His name is George Makapatama. So he was one of my mentors a few years ago, a proud Niuean who, has just done so much in his space, which has really, encouraged me to just keep pushing through some of those barriers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. And sort of as someone that's currently, attending these leadership programs and also getting a good outside look of mainstream leadership, do you see sort of from an outside perspective what the struggles could be around Pacific achievement or leadership within Pacifica? Like anything that's we could work on?
I mean, I think one thing that often gets overlooked is, as Pacifica, is our humility. And I think that within mainstream, that sometimes gets misunderstood as just being shy or being too dumb, because you're very quiet. They just automatically think that you've got nothing to say. And I think that's something that I've, been trying to work through, is balancing respect to my elders and being able to speak up as well. I think that's one thing that one challenge that I've had as a Pacific person working in mainstream, is just trying to balance that idea of being respectful to my manager, my elders, whoever that is, people with, superiority, but also being able to speak up in a way that is still respectful to others. So that's probably been a challenge.
Yep. Cool. Just a fun fact, growing up, I still remember sort of parent-teacher interviews and mum and dad telling us that, I think you had a few teachers that had sort of talked not down on you, but sort of had placed that sort of judgment on you where you were really shy and sort of had no potential. Was there, what sort of got you out of your shell? Because I know we're generally all quite shy or introverted. What sort of helped you get outside of being shy? And because you do present and talk to a lot of crowd people and do, lead in programs, what sort of helped you in that area?
Yeah, I think for me, I can still remember at high school where I sort of just transformed, and I don't know what happened, but I just remember being like this really shy, timid young person, and then just sort of slowly coming out of my shell.
Yep.
And I think that was probably around year 9, year 10 was when I started to sort of venture out and just try and get out of my shell. And I think it was because I had like a couple of goals in my head that I really wanted to achieve by the end of high school. And so I thought to myself, in order for me to get to this goal, I need to start, challenging myself, pushing myself, and getting myself out of that, fear kind of zone. So, I think that journey of discovery, of discovering myself, discovering the talents that I have, I think, and also doing things like speech competitions. I still remember doing speech competitions in primary school and in high school, and speaking in front of the assemblies, and just like those sorts of opportunities, I think just gave me a bit more confidence in terms of being in front of a crowd. Facilitating conversations, all that sort of stuff, I think came from, those sorts of opportunities, like in the high school space.
It was really cool to hear sort of the background of what you do in work, because even sometimes I'm not too sure when people ask me about what your line of work is. So it was cool to hear sort of the passion and what the steps that you took to get to where you are. Sort of off topic, but do you have anything planned sort of for the year ahead? Anything that you're wanting to achieve sort of planned?
Well, I mean, I'm coming up to 7 years in my role over at council. And for some, 7 years is quite some time to be in one role. But to be honest, when you find something that you're really passionate about,
Time flies.
Time flies, and it doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah.
Like to wake up and to go to work doesn't feel so intense or so like burdensome. Yeah. I mean, I kind of am a bit of a go with the flow kind of guy. So, I mean, I'm just going to see what opportunities present itself. I guess I'm pretty open to seeing what comes in front of me, and just kind of take any opportunity as it comes. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. What about just in terms of anything leisure or recreational, any travel sort of lined up?
Yeah, well, we've got a siblings trip coming up next week. Looking forward to that. Seeing the sister over in France, and then doing a couple of trips, around Europe. So really looking forward to, having a bit of a break, a change of routine, and just hopefully just resting. I think this year's been quite busy, and just looking forward to doing that. I don't have any other travel plans at the moment, but I hopefully, fingers crossed, there'll be a few more trips, in the pipeline.
In the year ahead, eh?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you. We've hit our time cap, so we'll probably close up. But before we do close up, is there any sort of words of advice that you would like to give anyone that might be watching who sort of needs help or guidance, or just in general life advice that you'd like to pass on or leave us with?
Yeah, that's a bit of there's so much, I think, that I've learnt from my tuakana or my mentors. Surround yourself with positive people, I think, is a huge one. Yep. Both in your personal and your professional life. I think it's really important to have people around you to really support you wherever you want to go. Like zooming out and seeing that it's a whole continuum, eh? So it's like our ancestors, and then we're here at this present time, and then looking sort of to the future and
generations to come.
Yeah, so I guess my advice is how we can ensure that we honor those who have come before us and look to serve our communities and our generations ahead.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for sharing. And it was really cool to have you here to share all of that with us. And we'll just look forward to a nice trip getaway and
Yes.
hopefully some time to relax. But cool, we're going to close off now. Thank you guys for watching. If you've made it this far, please remember to like and subscribe. Comment below if you have any other questions. But we'll see you again in the next episode. So yeah, thanks for watching.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
having me.
Oh, sorry, this camera here.
Peace.
All right, thanks for having us. Peace.